Ladies, stitch this and answer this question. How are y'all able to realistically be with a man long term, romantically, and not be annoyed by him nor his presence over time?
Hey beautiful people, how you are doing today? It's your girl Destiny here and welcome to my channel. How you are doing? Hope you guys are doing fantastic. So this video, it is an interesting question. So this is that came online to ask a question for people in a long-term relationship or marriage, that how can women be in a long-term relationship or marriage and not get annoyed with their husband, their spouse, or their boyfriend for being in a long-term. Talking about how the patriarchy sometimes can peep into the relationship, that how do women manage that type of relationship and stay in that type of relationship for a long time. And this video has struck a bigger conversation. So yes guys, we're on the positive side of the internet today, so we're going to hear women share their story of how they are able to, and I'm talking about women in a long-term relationship, so not just being in a relationship, in a long-term relationship, sharing how they are able to manage being in a relationship for that long with a man without or getting annoyed and still being in that relationship. I personally, I feel like I have a lot to say about this conversation because I am in a long-term relationship, been together for almost 21 years. So I feel like that's just down my alley, and I'm going to share with you guys all my tea, things that has helped me be in this long relationship for this long, for 21 years. So let's go check out what the sister have to say.
Ladies, stitch this and answer this question. How are y'all able to realistically be with a man long term, romantically, and not be annoyed by him nor his presence over time? Let me know. I tweeted this out of genuine curiosity because personally I have not been in a 1 year long plus long-term partnership with a man, and the idea of doing so, I stopped at being annoyed. I can't fathom. I don't see it. I don't see it. And before y'all start, no, I don't hate men. I also am not the most fond of them. However, I don't go out of my way to hate them either. However, when I listen to women who are married and the things they have to compromise on and things they have to mentally and emotionally do for their male partner, how do y'all, how? And furthermore, even if it is a good guy and it's a healthy partnership, how do you have the patience to help him walk through internalized misogyny or any patriarchal tendencies he has? How do y'all do that without wanting to rip your skin off? I don't get it. And hey, could I be aromantic or asexual? Possibly, but we're talking about this, so stay focused, okay? Whenever I think about being with a man 10, 15, 20 years, how do y'all do it?
Okay, I find this very interesting because this is almost like a blind reaction. I didn't even know the video I was reacting to, but that was an interesting question. And I personally, if you've been watching me for a while, you know that I have been in a long-term relationship and marriage. So I feel like this is down my alley and I'm going to respond to this. But I want to know what you think down in the comment section. What are your thoughts? Are you in a long-term relationship? Have you ever been in a long-term relationship? How were you able to manage being in that type of relationship without getting really annoyed, the man getting under your skin, like you just get really frustrated? Okay, I want to know your own take down in the comment section. Okay, love to know what you think about this. This video has gotten a lot of women to share their story and share their thoughts on this, as always. So we're going to check their own thoughts on it. But before we get into the video and hear their thoughts, if you have not subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? We'll post video every single day, and then we'll have amazing conversation. In fact, 2 videos every day. So why are you not subscribed? What did I do to you? So go ahead and hit the subscribe button down there below and click the notification bell so you get notified once I upload videos, okay? Which is every day. You don't want to miss the conversation, okay? So let's go check out what other women think and their thoughts on this. Then I'll come back and share my own thought, but I want to know yours down in the comment section, okay?
Ladies, stitch this and answer this question. How are y'all able to realistically be with?
I mean, I get along with my husband really, really well. I'm a bisexual woman in a hetero relationship. My person happens to be just my safe person, and he makes things like easier for me. As a human being, he's just a really great person. That doesn't mean that we don't annoy the out of each other. I mean, we've been together for like 15 years. This go around, The first time it was like 2 years. We don't really fight, but sometimes we do have disagreements and we do have conflict, and sometimes we both get on each other's nerves. I think honesty and realism and just like genuine appreciation and deep caring for one another is what gets us over the annoyances and keeps us having a genuine relationship.
How are y'all able to realistically be with a man long term romantically?
It's a few things. One, acceptance. You have to go in knowing who your partner already is, and I will say understanding their capabilities of who they can become. Two is meeting them where they're at. Just because you feel a certain way about certain things, you react to things a certain way, doesn't mean your partner is gonna automatically react and feel the same way you do about certain things. And I would say the last thing is just knowing that's your person. You want to be with them. It's not a need, it's a want. You want to be with that person. It will work.
Ladies, stitch this and answer this question. How are y'all able to realistically be with
Okay, so you say you don't hate men. I don't believe you. Women who feel like this, just date other women. Since you can't tolerate being in a long-term relationship with a man, just date women. I mean, it's cool. It's no big deal. When you're in a relationship with someone, not just the women compromise, men compromise too. That's what a long-term relationship is about, loving each other and compromising with each other. Some people can't compromise because, in my opinion, if you can't compromise for the person you're in a relationship with, you're not ready for a long-term relationship. That just means you're a bit selfish and you only want to think about yourself. But there's a lot of things that men have to deal with when it comes to dating women as well. It's not just always us women. We have to deal with men. They're this, they're that. Men also have to deal with us in our ways just as well as we have to deal with their ways. But you can't say you don't like men, you just don't care for them. You really don't like men. That's cool. Date a woman. You might be happier.
a man long term romantically and not be annoyed by him nor his presence over time?
I'm the annoying one.
Okay.
Long term romantically and not be annoyed by him nor his presence over time.
I think it all comes down to the man that you're married to, the partners that you're in relationships with. This is me as somebody who is married, has been married for 20 years. My husband and I are approaching 21 years in just a few months, but we've been together for 22 total. And one of the reasons why I don't get super annoyed by him is because he is my favorite damn person. Like, if I could spend every waking moment with this man, I would spend every waking moment with this man because he is fun. He is a partner. He is relatable. He is safe. Other women find safety in him. He is just an altogether good ass human being. And because of that, it's like easy to be with him.
Okay.
Now, don't get me wrong. There are some times where I'm like, okay, you breathing a little bit too hard, right? Like, am I going to have to just pick up your shoes off the floor for the umpteenth time? But I also know he has those same times with me, right? Like, my Virgo sun, moon, and all these different risings in Virgo as a Virgo, I'm sure gets on his damn nerves. My overly analytical, my I think I know everything gets on his nerves all the time too. But we're just friends, right? He is my person. And I'm speaking for him because I've heard him say it and I'm his person. So I think that's part of it. You have to have people that you're in partnerships with that you like, that you enjoy spending your time with. And that's not always the case. And let me also just say, because I know part of the challenge is somebody who is a relationship coach and also a sexologist and work primarily with couples, women and couples. A lot of that comes down to like how you match with each other, right? Like sometimes people just end up in marriages trying to plan a big wedding instead of trying to have a big marriage. They don't like each other. They're not on the same page. They don't know how to communicate, all of that. That I think is what makes the difference in whether or not you're annoyed with people and you can spend time with them and have a blissful relationship. We are in a place of bliss in our marriage. and I couldn't be happier. He's my person. So I hope this helps.
Stitch this and answer this question. How are y'all able to realistically be with...
I love when these kinds of questions come up. Hi, my name is AP. I've been with my husband for 19 years. We've been married for 15. And quite honestly, there's no such thing as not being annoyed. But I'm not any more annoyed by him because he's a man than I am when I get annoyed with my friends who are women. You know what I mean? I annoy him. We're going to annoy each other. That's just the reality of any long-term relationship. But in all, I think it's about who you choose to partner with. I think making sure you're partnered with someone that you're evenly yoked with is super important. And I know that means different things for everybody. For me, it meant meaning we were aligned on family values, financial values, spiritual values, so that those big things that can usually cause big problems, we already were in sync with those things. In the video, she asked about how do you walk a man through his internal misogyny, so on and so forth, even when he is a good man. And quite literally, in almost 20 years, we've very rarely had to do any of that. I don't know. We've just not. He's always, since day one, been big on respect, but you got to look at a man's relationship with the women in his life before you. So ask questions about how he was when he dated, and what's his relationship like with his mom, his aunties, all of that stuff. Because that's what, kind of determines how he's going to treat you as a woman. Ultimately, when you decide to spend your life with anyone for the rest of your life, they have to be your best friend, because you're going to spend just about every waking moment with them, despite going out with your own friends, having separate friend groups and things like that. But you have to genuinely like them as a person. I know we may be looking for a more complicated answer, but it's really that simple. You have to like them. You have to like the person you marry.
Yeah.
And that's that. I don't know. I think it's very simple, in my opinion. There's going to be compromises made on both ends. She mentioned in her video the compromises women seem to have to make to accommodate their husbands. I've never had to make like huge accommodations or compromises to, like, I don't know. We've compromised for each other, and it's never been anything that was like, I'm so devastated to have to do this. I don't know. We've had issues like any marriage. We've run into problems like any marriage, but it's never been like because he is a man. I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, he's good to me, and he loves me just from the top of my little bald head to the bottom of my little toes, and that sometimes is enough.
Term romantically and not be annoyed by him nor his presence over time.
Hey girlfriend, loved your video, wanted to get on here and stitch you and give you my 22 cents if you'll have. So I've been with my man 3 years. We've been married for a short time, and I've been in a long-term relationship with a man, living with them. When they say that your partner has to be your best friend, they absolutely were not telling a lie. When you're best friends with somebody, you can have open communication. So for example, my best girlfriends, I can call them and talk to them about anything. The same logic applies and the same grace applies to my relationship. When you're friends, when you're good friends, you can express yourself and they'll be receptive and want to listen to and correct a certain behavior. And that just makes you want to be around them more and fall in love with them more, because you see how they grow as a person and how they change, and it becomes fun. But the main point to all of this is friendship and communication. So the next thing that you talked about was the mental and emotional toll, because there's a lot of women on the app complaining about how their men behave. And we, in my relationship, we're solution-based people. We don't focus on problems, we provide solutions. So for example, if you focus on the problem's always going to be there. But if you provide a solution and they're your friend and they care about you, they will behave in a different manner. So for example, for me, I took my shoes off and I would leave them everywhere. He absolutely hated that. He didn't grow up like that. So what did he do? He bought me a shoe rack. So when I come in the house, I put my shoes on the shoe rack. Problem solved, no problem. For him, it was clothes on the floor. He would dump his clothes on the floor all the time, and that would annoy me. So I got him a laundry basket. There was a problem. I didn't attack the problem. I provided a solution. And so he puts his scrubs in the laundry basket. The problem will always be there if you nag about the problem. I'm the kind of person, if there's a problem and you just nag about it, I'm not listening to that. Provide a solution. So that's how we do things in our relationship. We're solutions-based people. We provide solutions. Next up is the internalized misogyny and patriarchy. I'm pretty fortunate. My man's mother is a college professor, so she raised them to be like her sons, to be self-aware about things like that. But he's a man and he thinks like a man. And of course, there's going to be times where that kind of creeps in. So because we're friends, we have open lines of communications, and I can say, hey, like, that's not how women see things. We see things like this. And he's open and receptive to seeing it differently. And he'll be like, oh, I never really thought about that. Of course you didn't. You're a man. You're not going to. And that's where that friendship, communication, and understanding comes in. And same with me. Like, I'm a woman. I don't think like a man. Never will. But if there's something that I say that kind of teeters on like, hey, this is kind of hateful, he'll say, hey, this is how we see things. This is why things are done that way. And because we're friends, I can say, oh, thanks for bringing that to my attention. I didn't know. I really appreciate and value your opinion. So that's how we do things. So as a society, we weren't taught how to properly communicate with each other. And I think that's where relationships break down. Also, we take time away from each other. Like, he goes on trips, I go on trips to do things by ourselves, and we have our own spaces in our house. And that also helps with, like, you know, mitigating the annoying thing. But I mean, we live together. It happens. But again, proper communication and being with your best friend, it changes the game. I hope this helps. I would love to see feedback from other women because, again, I'm like newly married, and there's women that have been married 20, 30 years on this app, and I would love to hear advice from you all. And this is getting really long, so we're done here. Provide feedback in the comments. I hope this helped.
How are y'all able to realistically be with a man long-term romantically?
So the other part of the question that got cut off here was, you know, how can you be in a long-term relationship with a man without being annoyed? And I'm like, good question. So I've been married for 12 years, and I guess I have a couple of thoughts about this, but I do want to tell a really quick story. So back when I was in my mid-20s, so this was before I met my husband, I was in medical school. I was attending a pretty traditional Southern Baptist church at the time, and I went to a singles conference. I don't know if y'all ever singles conference, but you know, you go, they have these little speakers and sessions and stuff. And so I remember being in one session where the woman was talking about being celibate for like, you know, an extended period of time, and how she ended up meeting, I think she was engaged at the time. And so she was basically talking about how she felt like she learned so much through celibacy. And it was just a lot in her discussion about like submission and surrender and all this kind of stuff. And after that session was over, you know, a lot of people had left. I was still sitting in there, and it was like on the row behind me was like in the back of the room. It was like all these older ladies, like probably like 60 and above, you know. And one of them saw the look on my face, and I don't know what the look on my face was, but she was like, you know, like, what's wrong? And I was like, if this is what it means and what we have to do to wait to get married or to get engaged, I was like, I don't think I could ever be married, because I just can't ever see myself like behaving in this way. Not just the celibacy, but all of the discussion that was around like surrender and submit. I was like, I just don't think that I'm going to find a person who's going to be okay with like who I am, because I don't think I could do that. And you know, this older lady, she just looked at me and she was like, honey, she was like, when you find the right person for you, you won't have to change anything about yourself. And she was like, so if this presentation basically doesn't sound like you, then, you know, like, it's not for you. So you'll find somebody who is for you. And I do not remember her name, but that has literally stuck with me, over, you know, a couple of decades now that she said that. And so I guess to go back to answer your question, how do you stay in a long-term relationship with a man and not be annoyed? Well, people are going to be annoyed with each other. So I guess just kind of having some acceptance that while men are annoying, you know, I'm sure I'm pretty annoying too. You know I can be pretty like irritable sometimes, and I'm a person who needs a lot of alone time and a lot of downtime, you know, more so than my spouse. So one thing, just as we've got to know each other, that he really understands that about me and like goes out of his way to give me my alone time, my quiet time, you know, my downtime. And I think too, you have to find a partner, and I'm going to speak for myself. I found a partner who wanted a partner. So did not want to be in a relationship that was a hierarchy. And again, no disrespect to people who exist in a relationship hierarchy. For example, in the church I was going to at the time, it was common that people said, okay, well, like God's the head of the church, and then the man, then the woman, then the children. To me, that's like the hierarchy. And I grew up with that. I'm from a small southern town, you know, so that's pretty traditional. But I knew that I could not really exist in a relationship like that. So I remember one of those sessions in that singles conference was talking about, like, what if you know more, let's say, about money than the man, but he's the head of the household? Are you going to let him make the decision? So I'm like, well, no. If I know more about the money, then I'm going to make the decision. Like, that's, to me, that's dumb. That's what I was saying. When I left those sessions, I was like, I don't think I'm going to get married, because I'm not going to let someone make decisions about something if I'm the more knowledgeable person. Like, to me, that doesn't make logical sense. So I found a person who, like, genuinely wanted to be in a relationship, like, as an equal partner. Like, he doesn't want to be over me. He doesn't want the relationship to be hierarchical. And so that's like something I think I would say to have a discussion about as you get with somebody, because I just couldn't exist, you know, in that. Or even like as I got married, I did not change my last name. And I know for a lot of people that is very meaningful, and they really want to do that and like combine the couple and all this kind of stuff. But I just knew, like, that just wasn't for me. I just couldn't see myself like changing my identity that way. Like, who I have been existing as an individual, who earned my medical degree. I don't know, like, my name is just meaningful to me. So I didn't think that I could change it, you know? And when we had discussions about it, because I guess he never thought that I wouldn't change it. But then we talked about it, and he was like, yeah, that totally makes sense. Like, why would you change it? You know what I'm saying? So I think just kind of having that as an open mind, to me, is like really the foundation. Because honestly, you are not going to be the same person you were when you get in the relationship. You know, like for me, 12 years later, so many experiences have happened, you know, positive, negative, between us in the relationship, family members, you know, like grief and loss. Like, we have been through so much. We are not the same people who started dating, you know, over a decade ago now. And so I guess that to me is like the biggest part. I see a lot of people who like, they're like, oh, they don't ever want them to change. Like, physically, they want them to look exactly the same as they are when they met. And they just like, well, they have a different mindset. But, you know, my hope is for anyone who's looking is that not only will you find a partner that you can connect with, like in this moment, but someone that as you evolve, hopefully they will evolve too. And where you end up will still be compatible. Because honestly, some people generally start at a certain place and then they evolve, and they're whatever they have is just not compatible anymore. And I mean, I also just generally, to me, my spouse is fun to be around. You know, we have like, we're both nerds. You know, like we go to convention together, have done cosplay together, watch Star Wars stuff together. So I think just like having that compatibility also. So even when, you know, he's doing something that's annoying, or I'm doing something that's annoying, it's just not really that big of a deal. It's just part of kind of day to day, as opposed to being something that could be a deal breaker. I mean, that's how we exist. But I think part of the reason why that annoyance, when it does happen, is not such a big deal to me is because where the foundation is, and where the respect is, and where the partnership is, to me, that's really like the core and the foundation of the relationship. So it makes any kind of day to day thing that's annoying, you know, just not really, it's not really a big deal. It's not a deal breaker. And, you know, overall makes the relationship, you know, again, everybody's going to have their hard times and their challenges, you know, interpersonally, individually, family, friends, you know, whatever. But, you know, to me, when that foundation is strong, you really, I mean, I really do see us as like partners on this journey in life together. That's kind of how I see us. Like, to me, he's an individual, I'm an individual, and the marriage is its own thing, but we are not the marriage. If that makes sense. He's his own person. He has his own needs, wants, and desires, and so do I. And a marriage is a thing. And we have to do things to nurture the marriage, but we also have to do things to nurture each other. And we both kind of respect that about each other. So anyway, that's how we stay together and don't annoy the crap out of each other.
I love so detailed info and story time. So like, I really love it. If you know me, you know I love story times a lot. Please go down in the comment section and share your thoughts. Love to know what you think about this amazing conversation down in the comment section. But please keep it respectful. As always, you guys know how we do it. We're allowed to disagree. We're allowed to have different opinions, but we do it in a respectful way. Okay? So go ahead and share your thoughts. Love to know what you think about this. So if you don't know, if this is the first time you're seeing my face, this first time you're coming across my video, I have been with my husband for almost 21 years. We dated for 10 years, now married for, by August it will be 11 years. So this says it, and I feel like this question is just so down my alley, and I can really like explain it because people ask me this, like, listen, how did you be in such a long-term relationship and you stayed there? First off, the first thing is that it has to be, you guys have to be friends, like, have to be friends. One of the things that myself and my husband, we bonded a lot about so many things. My husband is almost like my guy, like, and I feel like that has helped the relationship even through the ups and the low. He's still my guy, like, he's still somebody that I will show up for even if I'm not with him in a relationship. Like, if he was just my friend, he would be my friend for a long time or probably a lifetime. Before I even dive into my own story, when people talk about getting annoyed in a relationship, I feel like it's almost served with even when it comes to friendship, family members and all that. And I feel like that mindset, I feel, oh, relationship annoyance is going to be more worse and all that. You have families, you have sisters, you have friends. The same way they annoy you, the same way your partner is going to annoy you to the core, they're going to get your blood rushed, same way you're going to do that. So for me, being annoyed or getting annoyed, for me, it's not a negative thing. And I feel like that's one thing that getting into our relationship almost 21 years ago, that was something like I didn't realize, but me growing I eventually realized that people are allowed to be different. Some of the things society classifies as being negative, for me, I've started seeing it in a positive light, like, oh, disagreements, being annoyed. I'm allowed to be angry. I'm allowed to be sad. I'm allowed to cry. And those are valid emotions and feelings. And I feel like society has put so much negative things to it that a lot of people try to suppress, or a lot of people try so hard to fight those emotions, those feelings, so that it doesn't come across as if they have a negative personality or energy to them. So that's, I want to say, being annoyed, there is nothing, I don't see anything wrong with being annoyed. It is a valid, I'm allowed to be annoyed. I'm a human being. I'll be annoyed. Sometimes people get on my nerves, but I'm going to be annoyed, but it's fine. I'm going to handle it. We're going to trash it out, and it's fine. So for me and my husband, I feel like one of the core things, we've had our ups and downs. We have bad, crazy moments that we didn't even know we're going to survive. But one of the things I feel like that just keep bringing us back together is that we are both friends with each other. So no matter how angry we are at each other or how bad the situation is, when it's time to show up for each other, like, no matter how mad my husband is with me, no matter how mad, if I call him and said, I want you to come now, he would drop everything and show up. And same vice versa for me. And for me, I feel like that is the safe space. And then another thing that also helped our relationship to stay so long is being friends and also being very honest with each other. When you're in a friendship or relationship or marriage and you cannot be your authentic self, which a lot of women, even some men, put on a facade and they kind of almost play a role. They are not living their authentic self and your truth. It almost feels like you're prison, and when you get angry, I feel like it just really escalated. One of the things that I feel like we did right at the beginning of our relationship and even getting into marriage is the fact that we, like I said, we're both friends, so we're actually very, very comfortable having conversation, even the hardest conversation, and I don't have to tiptoe around how I genuinely feel. I'm going to say what I feel without feeling like, oh, I'm going to be judged. Even at that, I don't, like, it didn't feel that way, like I was going to be, and that was a very good start for us. Like I've said a couple of times here on this channel, I personally, I don't believe in the institution of marriage, and that's something I say verbally. My husband knows it. He agrees with me. Like that's how much friendship we have, that we can have that kind of conversation, like, marriage is a rubbish thing, like, oh, we don't advise people to do it. But the crazy thing is that he knows I'll say it. And some people on my channel here kind of feel like, how does your husband feel when you say that you don't believe in marriage? Doesn't he feel some type of way? No, because this is an honest conversation that we both have. And I don't have to sugarcoat my way around to express myself around him. And that has helped me. Even with my journey of me trying to know who I am, what I am, and even healing my trauma, knowing myself better, standing up for myself, being myself. My husband has seen that journey. He has seen how I have been like, and it has always been a very transparent. We always have that. I always open up for that conversation. Like, you know what? I don't stand for this anymore. This is where I'm at in life. This is where I'm at, and we always check. And then another thing that helped our relationship that we do is that every year we usually check in with each other and say, how was the other year? Hope we're fine. Can we go for another 1 more 12 months, 1 more year? So it was a thing that we do every year, which we're going to evaluate our marriage, our relationship, to see how it is, if there's a place where we need to have a conversation or an issue or something. And I feel like that just always help the situation eventually for everybody to pour their heart or any form of tiny little resentment creeping in. So that helps. So you have to be friends. You have to have honest and open conversation. So it's not as if what the person is getting is what the persona than who you are on the inside. And one thing I've come to realize, when you live your authentic self and when you are your authentic self, you seem more happy and the energy flows to the people around you and including your spouse. So that's it. And then another thing is that when myself and my husband were getting married, there was no form of hierarchy in our marriage. Like the last sister said, there was no form. It was almost like two best friends saying that, you know what, what are we waiting for? Let's just do this thing now. Okay, I've said it a couple of times. My husband proposed to me twice. The first time, things happened in my family, and I'm like, you know what, I don't think we can get married. Just hold on to your ring, and yeah. And when the second time, I was like, okay, let's just do it. There was nothing else was keeping us. And I didn't know better of what the institution of marriage really, but the type of friendship myself and my husband have, it was not, getting into marriage was not getting into marriage to be like, oh, the man is the head, you have to worship the ground he walks in, be submissive. My husband knows where I stand about that part, say being submissive to your husband. I'm going to love you and I'm going to love you hard. But what is actually being submissive, what it is. And I remember on our wedding day, I remember this thing very vividly. There's this thing they do in my culture, in my society, where on your wedding day, you want to give your husband drink, you will go down on your knees, or you want to feed your husband the cake, or you will go down on your knees and feed him, and then he will pull you up. And our own wedding, I didn't do that. Like, I sat down on his leg and we're kicking, kakaing, and we did it. So I feel like that was a symbol of there is no hierarchy, we are more of a partner. So I can snap at him, he can snap at me. Like, it's almost like sometimes we almost feel like we are two friends being together and living together. And I feel like that has actually helped our relationships to stay that long. And even when the annoyance come, my husband pisses me off. Like, my husband gets on my nerves. He knows it. With little tiny things, he knows it. Even being together for this long is to get on my nerves. And I know I get on his nerves. And he can express it and I can express mine. So there's no, oh, we have to walk on eggshells and all that. And some people do that in their relationship, that they walk out on eggshells and all that. So yeah, so those are some of the things that was able to help us to control the annoying part and all that. And even the fact that I have realized and I've identified that if I know what I know now and the journey I know now, I don't think I can ever get married. Even if I can never, I won't have, if I know what I know now, I know, then I won't have gotten married. But also, I would, probably myself and my husband will be friends or a partner for a lifetime without marriage. Yeah, I'm that girl. So yeah, like, I feel like those are some of the things that helps. No hierarchy. Not, some people like the hierarchy and all that, but if that's not for you, have this conversation. For me, one of the first steps in being in a relationship is being honest and being transparent about your expectation, who you are, your core, your values, things that align with you. And I feel like that just set the pace for the relationship and all that. And me doing what I do, I talk to women about and being honest about the struggles that come with being married and being a wife and all that. A lot of people in my society, in my culture, even in my family, sometimes they give me the side, they're like, how are you able to do this? And don't your husband feel some type of way about your stand in this type of issue? The reason why is the fact that he knows where I stand genuinely and how I feel about this and how passionate I am. So he gets it. So it's not a thing about him trying to put me under and be submissive, be like a typical African man, Nigerian man would do. No, my husband is not a typical Nigerian man. And I feel like that has given me the freedom to do what I do and be able to have my own voice and my own personality in our marriage. And be who I am, my authentic self. So yeah. And then another thing is that I feel like you having your own space, doing your own thing also kind of help. Yeah. Anyway, so those are some of my tips of not being annoyed, managing annoyance in a long-term relationship. I know this is the first time I've really talked about my relationship with my husband here on this channel like this. Yeah, you guys are welcome. Anyway, please go down in the comment section and share it. I'd love to know what you think. But before I get in, one of them I will not do is to come here and lie to women about the expectation of marriage. It is hard because mine seems like all easy breezy. That is not, because not a lot of men out there gets it like that. So still be very watchful, have that honest conversation, reading between the lines, look at the red flags, okay? Anyway, guys, please go down in the comment section and share your thoughts. Love to know what you think about this amazing conversation down in the comment section, but please keep it respectful. As always, here on this channel, we're allowed to disagree, but we'll do it in a respectful way. So go ahead, feel free to share your opinion. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, smash the like button, because this helps YouTube to push out my content for more people to see, and that will be you supporting this channel and this girl, yeah? Subscribe if you haven't subscribed to this channel, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Deuces.